are soaked and mashed into a pulp. Step 2. A bamboo screen evenly distributes and gently shaken to evenly distribute the mixture. Step 3. Once dried, the handmade paper is ready for everyday writing.
Since papermaking was introduced by the Arabs in Spain in the 10th century until the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the raw material has been linen, hemp or cotton rags. All fabrics were used. Old rags, ship sails, ropes, espadrille soles, fishing nets, sacks, and the quality of the paper depended on the quality of the fabrics. The rags arrive at the mill and are first selected and classified, establishing the different qualities according to the paper to be obtained. After separating everything that is not suitable, such as buttons, lace, embroidery, the cutters cut them into smaller pieces with scythes. Other impurities are removed. However, the speed of the lathe must be uniform and not too fast, because the rags would become matted in the mesh and would not allow the paper to escape. They are then left for a few days to ferment without rotting, which will facilitate their subsequent shredding. A few days have passed. The force of the liquid, regulated at will, sets in motion a water wheel that is connected to a camshaft that in turn alternately lifts the accelerators and these to the hammers. Vibrating hammers have 25 sharp-cut nails. The second ones are for refining and are equipped with flat nails. Finally, there are the refining hammers that no longer have nails at their ends. The resulting product is passed to the refining piles. There, with strong blows, the hammers crush and process the fiber until it becomes pulp. The refining and hydration of the pulp is carried out in the last piles. This entire process of converting the rags into pulp requires between 25 and 30 hours of work. After this time, the pulp acquires the characteristics and homogeneity required for the type of paper to be manufactured. It is precisely in Latino where the sheet of paper is formed. The vat is filled with a mixture of water and pulp in a higher or lower concentration depending on the weight of the paper to be manufactured. From time to time, the mixture must be stirred with a perforated paddle so that the heavier paper pulp that has settled at the bottom rises and disperses through the water. Frame covered with a fine wire mesh into the vat. When it is full, he removes it and with a slight but rapid movement of bibin, the fibers remain on the form while the water drains through the wire mesh. This one places each sheet on a woolen cloth or sackcloth. Once the sheet of paper is made, the form is separated, which has been used to control the weight and the homogeneous arrangement of the fibers. This stack of sheets and sheets is placed in the press. There, with the work of 4 men who turn the lathe to multiply the pressure of use, it is possible to eliminate as much water as possible and give more consistency to the paper. To obtain 4,500 sheets per day, the pressing process had to be repeated 18 times during the entire day, and around 30 people, including men, women, and children, were involved in the entire manufacturing process. When the water from the paper has been drained off, the press has to be loosened to extract it and continue with the next process. Sheets from the valleys. The sheets are stacked on the lifter bench in a pile called the white paper. The white paper is taken to the viewpoint or dryer, which is located on the upper floors of the mill and opens to the outside with many small windows. The sheet laying operation is carried out with great skill by 2 workers, one sitting down to prepare the sheets, and the clothes dryer who hangs them from hemp ropes with the help of a skewer. The speed at which the paper dries will depend on the weather, humidity, wind, fog, and sun. The windows are opened or closed depending on the time of day in order to create a favorable air current for drying. When the paper is dry, these workers collect it to move on to the gluing process. From the end of the 14th century and the beginning of the 10th century until the 19th century, the traditional method of gluing paper was with a bath of animal glue, gelatin extracted by boiling the flesh of goats, sheep, and calves, mainly with water and a small amount of rock alum. Once the gelatin obtained has been filtered, it is poured at a temperature of between 40 and 50 grams into a copper container called a wetting agent. The worker prepares bundles of 25 sheets that are placed between two pieces of cardboard or felt. Opening them in the shape of a fan, they are placed in the wetting agent and are submerged in the glue with a piece of lead on top. The gelatin forms a very thin film that makes the paper waterproof and suitable for writing. Without this layer, unglued paper would be blotting paper. Once glued, the clothes dryer hangs the sheets of paper back up in the dryer or viewpoint. The air passing through the windows and the favorable weather conditions will do the rest. The satin finisher, like the crushing hammers, is also powered by a water wheel. The main part is a large oak mallet, the lower end of which is fitted with a metal piece and which falls in time onto an iron base. The worker places about 10 or 15 sheets of paper under the mallet and changes their position with each stroke so that they are smoothed across their entire surface and acquire the necessary uniformity. Satin finishing makes the paper smoother, which gives it beauty and makes it more suitable for writing. The finishing process consists of rubbing or deburring. To do this, the operator holds it firmly on the rubbing or leveling bench and trims it with a very sharp knife. No. Finally, the paper is taken to the counting room. There, strict quality control is carried out. The sheets are selected, any impurities are removed from the surface, the defective ones are discarded and they are packaged. The area continues to manufacture the high-quality handmade paper that artists such as Goya used, with the accredited watermark of the Maltese cross.
and made my own paper out of it. And ever since then, there's been a question that's been marinating in my mind, a quest to take 4 unusual materials and see if I can even make paper with them, and then through a series of tests, find out which one is the superior DIY paper. The first one I'm gonna try is celery. This has been sitting in the fridge for like a week now, and it's one of those things that you buy thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna become cream cheese and then raise flashbacks. Comment if this oil. This has turned into a proper cooking show. Sodium carbonate. And apparently it's toxic, so okay, never mind. It's not edible. And let it simmer for a while. And I'm hoping this causes the celery to become very soft and almost disintegrate. So it worked. But that means that it's ready for the next step. So it's time. Blend it. Strain. And I forgot it's not toxic in small amounts. And it's time to, well, glad to have you. And here is how this process works. You start by mixing the pulp into a container of water, then use this tool called a decal and mold and lower them in, swish it around a bit, then lift it up and out of the water, take away the decal, and lay the mold part paper side down onto a towel or scrap piece of fabric. Next, using a sponge, soak up all the excess water by pressing firmly through the mesh part. And now for the moment of truth. Boom, nice. Our first piece of celery paper. I hung it up to dry and then kept production rolling. In total, I was able to make 4 sheets of paper and everything. Dang it. Things are not going as I thought. Thin. Look at that. I mean, is it a failure? I did make paper out of celery, but this is more like tissue paper. Is it a failure? I did make paper out of celery, but this is more like tissue paper. No. Well, this is all part of the experiment process. Even squished all together, it wouldn't even make one nice sheet of paper. It's just so thin. But I do love the look of it. I think the texture is really neat, but definitely not what I was hoping for. Let's move on to experiment number 2, and hopefully this one turns out good. The other day, while out for a run, I saw all of these fallen leaves. Well, I decided to find out, so I collected a bunch into my pack if I can make paper out of leaves. I started by separating out the stems, so it would just be the nice leaf fibers. Then I basically just did the same process as before, leaf stew this time. Yummy. Did I put on the chef hat again? No, that'd be ridiculous and repetitive. Got to it and formed the first sheet of paper. This process is honestly so relaxing and satisfying, you gotta try it out. Oh yeah. Dang, look how cool this looks. The texture is almost like stone or something. Oh, I'm excited. The excitement level stayed high as I made a few more, and then they peeled off so nicely from the fabric. Way less of a struggle than the celery paper. Speaking of leaves, you know the top spiky part of a pineapple? Usually it just goes boom, right into the compost and doesn't really have a use. Well, it was my next test subject, and it turned into this. These ones got a bit ripped, but this one's pretty dang perfect. This one's pretty dang perfect. And then the other one I made is more of your classic traditional DIY paper. Using junk mail and newspapers, it's also a great way to repurpose old homework. So now that we've got all of our different types of paper, it's finally time for the ultimate test. The ultra thin celery paper. I'm gonna save though for a surprise project that's coming up. For the first test, I grabbed a variety of writing tools to see how the different papers would do. And it didn't start off too strong. Oh, ripped it a bit already. Oh, that's smooth. That one's so good. Oh, this one too. Oh, more ripped. But after testing the markers, a crayon, pencil, and a pen, the results of the competition were pretty clear. The leaf paper is definitely not ideal for writing or drawing on. The leaf paper is definitely not ideal for writing or drawing on. The pineapple spiky top one, not ideal for writing or drawing on. The pineapple spiky top one was surprisingly good, and I think the best is your traditional DIY paper. Writing or drawing on. The pineapple spiky top one was surprisingly good, and I think the best is your traditional DIY paper. But that could all change here, as test number 2 was to print a photo onto each one. I found the easiest way to do this is to just tape it onto a standard sheet of printer paper, make sure it's all nice and flat, then just load her in and print. Ooh, okay, and then you just carefully peel it off away from the tape, and you can reuse this, and then, oh, upside down. There we go, our first print. I did get carried away a bit and made a few more test prints. But then I moved on to see if the leaf paper would be a success or a total failure. And I was surprisingly impressed. Oh, it's not as clear as the other one, but I really like it. Like, the texture came out really nice. This is the photo that I took from our Yosemite trip. And boom, there it is printed on the leaf paper. Let me know what you think of that one. When it came to the pineapple paper, my printer was not too happy. Uh-oh. Is printed on the leaf paper. Let me know what you think of that one. When it came to the pineapple paper, my printer was not too happy. Got a paper jam. Oh no. Okay, let's try that again. Another photo from our Cali road trip. This is Big Sur. Such an epic place. I could spend multiple days probably just trying different print methods and seeing what photos and which colors show up better. But I'll have to save that for another time. Here's the final print result.
In this video, I'm going to show you 4 different ways to age paper, depending on what project you want to do. And how much effort you want to put into aging your paper. Channel just because that works well for me. So the first thing I'm going to show you is just getting rid of those straight sides. So simply tear down each edge. Now you'll see that didn't go very well. And then just about this. If you need a certain size, then you'll have to be a little bit agree that by the time I've got those edges looking like that, a really quick, easy way, great especially for children, is simply to crumple your paper up. So squish it all out. You'll see that you're more happy with it. Used in any combinator to work on your paper. So now let's move into dyeing your paper. So the first type we're going to use here is a tea mix. So what I've done here is rest for a while before I took the tea bags out. And now I'm putting the paper down flat in on a piece of paper that I've literally just experiment a little. So if you have coffee in your house, so again, I would say the coffee made liquid. Now be careful, your paper will be a lot more fragile once it's wet. So just take cap off and then place it somewhere. Now I'm placing mine on some kitchen rolls, some kitchen paper, because once they're out of your solution, and just pop them back in. I want them to dry quite long. Asters dab in case of placing it somewhere warm. Now obviously if you come in it'll dry on a windowsill. See the airflow for your project is, and I hope you've enjoyed aging your paper.
Hi everyone, welcome to Becky's Crafts and Goodies. Today I'm going to show you how to tea dye or to tea stain some ordinary copier paper. Now the same principle can be used with coffee if you wanted to do it, but I wanted to use tea to do mine. I think they've come out marker. That got this from the works. This was £4. I think some here, and I'm going to put I think 5 tea bags. But when I made them, I used a jug. Where have I gone up to? I would say leave it for at least 10 minutes, mixture up. So I'll put the tea if you want them to be sort of you're going for, and then and not too much minutes or something like that with coffee. 5 to 10 minutes. I think wash out, see where I didn't sort of move them about, and some of them are rich and want a sheet here. It's a bit kind of so. Use show you that I did, and if you can look right. So if when you're going through them and you're going to dry them, you find you've got some that are a little bit too pale, wait to give them a different effect. It started to dry. It's just spritz a bit of the. As long as you don't put too many in, you know, just literally a handful, maybe 5 at a time, and then I'll show you them when they're finished. These are how they've turned out. You could use the paper for all sorts of things. In fact, Phoebe actually made a wanted poster with one the other day, but as you can see that looks a little bit crinkly, which I think looks quite nice. So I hope this video, I hope you've inspired you to have a little go at tea dyeing your own paper. If you haven't already subscribed, then please do, and I'll see you all again soon.
As I searched and picked up all the discarded trash that I could find. And I had arrived at the coffee shop. The bag was full, and I had arrived at my goal. The bag was full, and I had arrived at the coffee shop. Decal and mold. These things right here. It's a tool that's like thousands of years old, and it's used to make the proper paper shape. Yesterday I went on a little side quest and made them. All you need is the wooden frame part. One of the frames will be the decal. Whatever you have, and let's get into it. The process This begins by cutting up all the recycled paper into smaller pieces. If you have a shredder machine, you can use that and be done in like 10 seconds. Go. Look at that. All shredded up. And now we fill it up with softer and easier to blend out. We're garbage, but now you're getting the yeah. It was a really satisfying process. And my favorite part of the night, and now, it is time. Okay, forget. Okay, forget what I said earlier. This was even more satisfying and fun than making the actual paper. Honestly, I wish I had 100 more of these to do, unfortunately. But here's how it turned out. I love how each one's different, and you can see all the little specks and blemishes. And here's 3 different ways that you can use your handmade paper. Number 2, you can print photos onto it. It gives it this really cool textured look. And you can also turn it into a little pocket-sized journal.
These antique books out here, want to go over some examples of different paper and talk about rag paper. So rag paper is important to us as artists because rag paper is made out of, a rag cotton, a rag linen, or a flax rag, and that makes it stronger than any other paper. It also holds the ink better than any other paper. So when we're constructing a book, for instance, we want some kind of paper that is going to be very durable and strong. It's going to let us sew in a signature. It's going to let us fold it, do all kinds of things to it, right? Because it's strong. That's why we like rag paper. And for artists who watercolor specifically, you want a rag paper because rag paper holds that color perfectly. As an artist, you don't want any type of synthetic fibers in there, right? So let's look at rag paper. This is a full leather book, meaning it has a leather front cover, a leather spine, and a leather back cover. And this one happens to have marble paper inside of it. This is marbled rag paper from the 1800s, and you can notice that it has a sheen on it. They didn't have glossy paper in the 17 and 1800s, so how they achieved a sheen on their paper was they took a stone, an agate stone, and they rubbed agate stones all over the marbled paper, and that imparted that sheen that you're seeing. Can you imagine how time consuming that was to do, right? It was probably done on higher quality books. This is rag paper, and I want to zoom in close here so that you guys can see it. This book is made from rag paper, and this one was printed in the 1800s. There's its Roman numeral dating system. But what we're looking at here is we're looking at the texture of the paper. And so see all of those tiny little lines in the paper? See how the texture has lines all over it? That is from the laid paper making process, meaning, let's talk about rag paper making, right? So how rag paper was made, it was made from ground up fibers, oftentimes from linen rags like clothing and cotton rags and flax rags even. But at this time, most clothing, most material was made out of linen. And so linen, just like today where we try to recycle and reuse things, they were recycling and reusing linen. And they actually had rag dealers who would purchase the rags, the old clothing or, any type of old rag material, and they would gather it up and sell it to the paper mills. And when the rags came to the paper mills, usually women did this job. They would sort out the rag into different piles based on color and based on, fiber content. Occasionally they would have some cotton or something else, flax. So they would sort it into any impurities like buttons or pins or anything like that from it. And then the rag would be ground up, beaten up into tiny little particles. And then they added some water and some other substances, the pulp of the rag, and then they would use screens. And then once on the top of the screen, that would help dry it and press out the very brief overview of rag paper making. And so let me show you some examples of non-rag paper to help you identify the difference, right? So this is an American book, and you can tell it has wood pulp paper. So all paper made today, unless you get a specialty paper, is made from wood pulp paper. And that's made from trees, from wood. This is wood pulp paper, and you can notice how floppy the pages are, how easy I can just flip through this, right? If I show you up close, this paper is smooth. It doesn't have any texture to it. This is not laid paper. This is definitely a wood pulp smooth finish paper. And again, look at how floppy the pages are because that's important. Your rag paper books will all have very strong paper in them because the rag content, the fiber in those rag papers are so strong and durable that this book block will stand up. Like I can flip through it, but it's not floppy, like it will just completely stand up on its own. Rag fibers, right? So linen fibers are so strong and durable that that paper is so strong and durable that it will just stand up like that. Whereas if I come back over here and I show you this one again, this one will not stand up on its own. It is just completely floppy. And I show you a different example here, and it is also just made out of wood pulp paper. And so wood pulp paper, you know, it's not going to stand up on its own. It's just very, very floppy. It's smooth finish. And linen rag paper, you'll be able to feel the difference. This one is made from a wood pulp paper also. However, this one you can tell is aged. And so a lot of wood pulp paper, most wood pulp paper has a lot of acid in the process, the manufacturing process. And those acids over time tan and darken. And they darken your paper, they weaken it, and they make it brittle. So if you go to fold a piece of paper made from wood pulp, it's probably going to crack if it has any age or dryness to it. Where you can fold rag paper all day long and it's not going to crack on you. This book here is made from cotton rag paper. This is an early 1800s French book, and cotton rag paper will have a telltale white appearance to it, and when you touch it and feel it with your hand, it's going to feel soft and fibrous like a cotton t-shirt. And so this one here is made of cotton, and you'll be able to see cotton rag paper there. So if it's really, really white and it's still fibrous, it's probably a cotton rag paper. If it's kind of a medium tone and you can, you know, feel texture on it, then it's probably a linen rag paper. Now let's talk about time frames, right? Because everyone asks,
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to take a closer look at Arteza watercolor papers. They both are from Expert line, but one is 100% cotton while the other made up of wood pulp. I love to use watercolor papers in my artworks for many reasons. About little details like here, cornice protection. Now unboxing time. Here we have a 100% cotton paper. It's a cold pressed and 300 GSM heavyweight paper, perfect for wet and dry media including watercolor paintings, gouache paints, watercolor pencils and ink. In one pad we have 14 sheets of acid-free and non-toxic paper. This is a A4 size, and here you can see the texture. It's a cold press paper, very nice to touch. I can definitely feel it's a cotton paper. The second paper that I'm going to review is a wood pulp paper. And what's so special about this one is the fact that it's dual-sided. The size is also A4, 300 GSM heavyweight paper, The left side is way smoother than the right side. Between those two papers, I searched through all my professional watercolor paper collection to my once when it comes to texture. And I found a very close match.
Hi everybody, today I wanted to share with you some insight into my process from research to sketch to final. This project came about because I had a client reach out and she her a new one and she said I could change the animals, I could change. Once I decide on which species I'm going to be using, I start doing a lot of preliminary sketch work. So sometimes parts. It is one of the most tedious parts. But that is doing the background. It's time for my quite frightening, but I love the way it looks, even the little new. First, I had to make sure that it looked good with the rest of the piece. So I took a picture of it, put it into Photoshop, and started practicing kind of a faux border around it, just to make sure that I liked the colors and the patterns with the rest of the piece. Do the same with my own. On the original, I can definitely see how my technique and my observation skills have improved, and that's always really. If you'd like to see more